me start the music over again. Here we go. All right, my friends, welcome. You are watching Political Point Magazine. Yes. Where the right is right and the left the left is coming apart. The left is always on the wrong side of history. Why? Because political minds want to know. So enjoy a conservative point of view. And let's talk pea soup. With tonight's top stories. Well, I predicted it a while ago, but Zimmerman is not guilty, and the Justice Department is now going to seek charges in a civil suit against George Zimmerman, which I think is totally ridiculous. And now, Spitzer has rules, and Wiener has problems. We will talk about that. But on a positive note, there's a progress report on the federal budget deficit. We will talk about in depth about that. And also, Political Point tonight, we have another personal note for you. But we will want to talk about all of this and more with you, the viewers. We'll take it to the phones on that note as well. But, hello! Welcome, my friends! You are watching Political Point Magazine, and I am your Political Point host, William Mitro. Alright, my friends, welcome. Welcome to another special edition. I welcome you to the show. Alright? Alright, my friends, welcome. Well, tonight, my friends, this is quite the interesting note here. Alright, quite the interesting thing here. Alright, and I wanted to get into everything here. But my friends, tonight the story is where we are headed from here. But my friends, the Zimmerman verdict, not guilty. All right, that's right, not guilty. And now I predicted this would happen. All right. Because all the evidence pointed to self-defense, and people tried to inject race into this. All right, but the Zimmerman verdict, okay, and it was quite the shock and awe to some people, especially Zimmerman, I believe. But granted that let's see here. He didn't have Johnny Cochran as a lawyer, okay. But my friends, this is quite interesting. But let me show you though. All right, let me show you though the testimony here. All right, the testimony that got the testimony. Oops, pause it. Okay, wait. Okay. Let me show you the testimony here, all right, that really took the cake here, all right. I thought the prosecution really failed in doing its job, okay. It couldn't prove its point and prove the case clear, and all the evidence, okay. Let me show you this, okay. The prosecution was trying to pick out things and even grab from a handbag separate charges. Like at one point, the prosecution tried to seek third-degree murder. All right, and the defense complained about this. Let me show you the testimony here, or the what the defense said in response to that. Okay, but let me show you this. Okay, this is quite shocking. Okay, now I found this to be appalling.
Oh my God. Just when I thought this case couldn't get any more bizarre, the state is seeking third-degree murder based on child abuse. Is the court going to give this any serious contention or consideration? Because if so, we have a lot of talking to do. When Trayvon Martin is shot straddling George Zimmerman, pummeling him, that somehow George Zimmerman was engaged in child abuse? Judge, this was a trick. Doesn't the court realize this was a trick by the state?
But Judge Nelson ruled against.
Yep. And on that note, the judge ruled against the third-degree charge, ruling against the prosecution because it was absolutely ludicrous. All right, the prosecution did a lousy job. All right, in fact, okay, the prosecution did a lousy job. In fact, let me show you the testimony of the prosecution trying to make its case against Zimmerman. All right, this is what backfired on the prosecution. They showed Zimmerman's interview with Fox News' Sean Hannity. All right, but this is the testimony. This is the arguments of the prosecution that backfired on the prosecution. Take a look at this. All right.
To quote the defendant, and pardon my language, he was one of those that get away. Pardon my language. He was one of those punks. Why does this defendant get out of the car if he thinks that Trayvon Martin is a threat to him? Why? Why? Because he's got a gun. He's got the equalizer. He's going to take care of it. He's a wannabe cop. He's going to take care of it. He's got a gun. And my God, it's his community. And he's not going to put up with it. And if the police are taking too long to respond, he's going to handle it. Then we move on to July 20th, 2013. Mr. Hannity, he's giving him home runs, easy questions. Can't even get that right because he tells one lie after another. Listen.
And then we get to the issue where you said on the 911 call that he's running. You said that to the dispatch. Is there any chance in retrospect, as you look back on that night and what happened, trying to maybe get into the mindset, because we also have learned that Trayvon was speaking with his girlfriend supposedly at the time, that maybe he was afraid of you, didn't know who you were?
No.
You don't think that? Why do you think that he was running then?
Well, maybe I said running, but he was more.
You said he was running.
Yes, it was like skipping, going away quickly, but he wasn't running out of fear.
You could tell the difference.
He wasn't running.
He wasn't actually running.
You know, sir.
Okay.
Hannity just asking a very simple question. Well, perhaps Trayvon Martin was scared of you since you're following him and he's running away from you. And so he realizes at that time, the defendant realizes, oh, that doesn't look good because that means I'm chasing him. That means Trayvon Martin is the one that's scared. That doesn't look good for me. So what does he say? Oh, he's skipping away. La, la, la. That's what he's claiming.
And my friends, that interview, by the way, made it possible for Zimmerman to really make his case because he didn't have to testify because of that interview. All right? And then by the prosecution showing that interview, all right, that's what backfired for the prosecution because in several ways, okay, the prosecution was swearing, cursing to make their points, and also, All right, the prosecution here. Okay, let me show you this guy. Okay, this is the prosecution attorney. All right, but also, I found the prosecution prosecution to be they always started out sarcastically and stuff, and they were always taunting in their trying to prove their case and stuff like that, and it didn't do them a single bit of good. Okay, and of course they always tried to inject race into it. All right, but my friends, this is just not. It's not. The prosecution did a horrible job. All right, it was the defense that actually had the better case. Okay, the better case. All right, the defense evidence pointed to self-defense. Okay, now I want to talk about this because it's ultimately clear. Okay, there was tremendous testimony in this. All right, in the fact that we did see that. All right, you remember this picture, and I'm going to show you this right away here. Okay, watch this. Okay, this is not. Okay, whoops, wrong one. Okay, wait. Remember that. Okay, this is the picture of Zimmerman's, the back of Zimmerman's head, as he was getting beat up, and it clearly showed that the evidence that the defense presented clearly demonstrated that this was self-defense. Sure, that Zimmerman didn't obey orders not to follow Trayvon, but he didn't break the law. According to Florida law, the stand your ground law, all right, you can shoot somebody in self-defense if you feel that your life is being threatened, or you're in threat of bodily harm that could potentially take your life. So all of this, my friends, points to the defense doing an extremely excellent job. All right, and this, my friends, okay. Now I want to show you the other testimony. All right, the other testimony. All right, that really did it for George Zimmerman. All right, the testimony of this guy, of the forensics expert, all right, that testified, and all of the evidence pointed to self-defense. But they even had a demonstration of how Trayvon was on top of Zimmerman and beating him senseless, and with a display dummy. But anyhow, I wanted to get into this because this, my friends, I want to show you the testimony that another testimony that actually did it for the defense, that made the defense's case. All right, but this case, my friends, I am sick and tired of hearing people nowadays. I am sick and tired of hearing people trying to inject race into this. First off, Zimmerman is Hispanic, okay, and Zimmerman is Hispanic, and Trayvon was black, okay. So this was not a case with serious racial overtones. All right, take a look at this.
His case tomorrow.
All right, take a look at this. All right,
The testimony of forensic.
a forensics expert testified in this case.
By the nature of this case, It's more about determining whether the physical evidence is consistent with Mr. Zimmerman's account. It's my opinion that the muzzle of the gun in this case was 2 to 4 inches away from the skin. So the barrel of the gun was against the clothing. The muzzle of the gun was against the clothing, but the clothing itself had to be 2 to 4 inches away from the body at the time Mr. Martin was shot. The most important point is the nature of the defect in the clothing and the powder tattooing. That is, if you lean over somebody, you will notice that the clothing tends to fall away from the chest. If instead you're lying on your back and somebody shoots you, the clothing is going to be against your chest. So that the fact that we know the clothing was 2 to 4 inches away is consistent with somebody leaning over the person doing the shooting. So the wound itself, by the gap, by the powder tattooing, in the face of contact of the clothing, indicates that this is consistent with Mr. Zimmerman's account, that Mr. Martin was over him, leaning forward at the time he was shot.
And here with reaction tonight, Fox 30.
Yep. So, in that regard, okay, it was self-defense. All right. Now, I think in this case, it was all a big misunderstanding that unfortunately ended in tragedy. All right. And it should have never come to that, but there was also evidence that Trayvon Martin had marijuana in his system, was under the influence of marijuana too. So this case, my friends, it's a tough one, but I do not think that we should inject race into this. Okay. Now, speaking of which, I was surprised that before the verdict, Al Sharpton was out there on his TV program encouraging people, his people, to be calm and encouraging nonviolence, no matter what the outcome, no matter what the verdict is. But today, ultimately, he broke that. He broke that because now he is holding marches down there. And now, but I don't know if it's going to come to violence because of this, but there is no racial overtones into this case. It was purely self-defense, and I predicted that it was going to be a not guilty verdict and acquittal, all right, because of the fact that, it's not as if George Zimmerman was actually pursuing this guy as hatred for Trayvon. No, it's not like that. All right, he didn't pursue any sort of racial epithets or anything like that. All right, this guy was a neighborhood watchman, okay, which essentially was a volunteer job, okay. But on that note, it is not guilty. All right. Now, my friends, okay, and I want to get into something else here. All right. Now, Obama now, all right. Now, Obama is now looking at the zero option for the in regards to Afghanistan. All right. And on that note, you remember I said that, and I showed the clip Okay, I showed the clip of the State of the Union with Obama literally announcing that that troops would come home by the end of 2014 in Afghanistan. Now, we wanna get into this because it is now it is now that we do see this. Our Afghan let me see something here now. All right, our Afghan relationship with Karzai is not really that good. All right, not really that good. All right, because of the fact that all right, but take a look at this. This is what
We will complete our transition to Afghan responsibility for that country's security. Our troops will come home. Our combat mission will come to an end. And we will work with the Afghan government to train security forces and sustain a counterterrorism force which ensures that al-Qaeda can never again establish a safe haven to launch attacks against us or our allies.
The suggestion that we're somehow close to a determination or conclusion in that negotiation is incorrect.
Given the current political situation and the relationship between the administration and Karzai, I would say right now it's not a bluff and that it is on the table. And if given the opportunity, the administration will pull out of Afghanistan sooner rather than later.
Well, our relationship with Afghanistan is not really that great. All right. Now, Karzai is on record of criticizing President Obama in several respects, and the other thing is, you remember a few weeks ago I reported that Barack Obama wants to negotiate with the Taliban, the Taliban. All right, now that, my friends, is a suicide mission. All right, okay. And now, if President Obama is really serious about our relations with Afghanistan and whatnot, then this, my friends, I don't know what he's thinking. All right, I mean, I don't know what he's thinking, because he's making friends with the enemy. All right, but I just want to stress that. Our foreign relations now with Afghanistan are not really the best. All right. At one point, Barack Obama had a phone conversation with Karzai, and I believe the phone conversation got pretty heated. All right, pretty much heated. All right, and it just didn't look any good. All right, but on another note. Now, positive note here, we have progress in the federal budget deficit. All right. Now, I want to point to this here. All right. But on this note, I want to inform you that you remember this dates back. Okay. You remember back to the debate and the negotiations over the fiscal cliff and the debt limit and whatnot. Well, this ties into it. There's a progress report here. All right, a progress report. Now take this seriously here. All right, remember what was negotiated. All right, in all the negotiations with the budget and everything. All right, how the tax increases and everything and whatnot, and then the spending cuts, okay? Sequestration happened and everything. But all of that now, okay, at the beginning of the year, we had sequestration, we had the automatic spending cuts and the tax increases. You know, payroll taxes went up, corporate taxes went up, okay, and everything. But all of this now has contributed, okay? There's a new report out now. Take a listen to this, okay? The U.S. Department, the U.S. government, this is according to the Treasury Department, okay? The U.S. government took in $117 billion more than it spent in June. All right, mostly due to higher revenues, the Treasury Department said. Okay, now the department said that the surplus in June helped reduce the budget deficit for the first 9 months of fiscal year 2013. All right, the fiscal year to $510 billion, down 44% from the same period in 2012. All right, now this, my friends, okay, reduced spending contributed to the monthly surplus, but the Treasury Department said that the deficit reduction was primarily due to higher tax receipts from individuals and corporations. All right, now total receipts are up 14% year to date because of higher payroll taxes and higher tax rates for wealthy Americans that took effect. All right, now spending was down 5% during the October through June period. Okay, the federal government posted a monthly budget surplus of $113 billion in April. All right, now this is the only thing that Congress and the president got right. All right, now it's on the right track, right? But we are still not out of the red completely here. Okay, now let me break this down for you. All right, now, okay, we have made huge strides to cut the budget deficit and have succeeded brilliantly. Okay, now it was the one thing Congress got right. All right, now, but now should we have? But now the question is what to do next. All right, what to do next. All right, and okay, the question is what to do next. Okay, should we go any further with another sequestration? I don't think so. All right, and also, it's but it's a fair question. But okay, this year the federal deficit dropped 40%. Okay, from about $1 trillion to $600 billion. Okay, over 10 years the deficit is slated to be $6.4 trillion, down from over $10 trillion estimated a year ago. All right, now, okay, now what's the cause of this? Okay, let me break it down. Here's the breakdown. Okay, deficit reduction for 2013. Okay, due to increases in tax rates. Okay, $100 billion. Okay, due to growth caused increase in tax revenue, another $100 billion. Okay, sequester spending cuts, another $100 billion. Okay, and cuts in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac spending. Okay, another $100 billion. That's a total of $400 billion that we've cut from the deficit. Okay, that's $400 billion that we're not borrowing. Okay, now, okay, before the progress of 2013, okay, the deficit was running at 7% of GDP. Okay, now it is down to 4% over a decade. All right, the proportion of GDP spent on the deficit has dropped from 5% to 3%. All right, now, okay, what to do next? Okay, I have been encouraging. Okay, we want to keep this trend going. Okay, keep this trend going of surpluses. Okay, but now in light of the IRS tax scandals and everything else, all right, the Republicans are now pushing for a total elimination, a total abolishment of the IRS and replacing it with a fairer flat rate code. Okay, a fairer, simpler tax code. All right, allowing everybody to pay a flat rate. Okay, I'm for the fair tax. This is what we are for. So in order to keep up this progress, okay, we need to abolish the IRS and install the fair tax. All right. Now, what I want to also get into is there. Okay, like I said before, we are not totally out of the red completely. All right. If you look at this chart here, okay, we are still, okay, the overall the U.S. national debt, okay, is still at $16.8 trillion. All right, $16.8 trillion. Okay, that's 16, comma. Okay, 16, comma. Okay, 742, comma. 586, comma. 991, comma. 644.15. All right. Our U.S. national debt is 16,742,991,644.15. All right, that is it. Now, let me talk about this in terms that you can understand here. Now, okay. Now, the deficit, mind you. Okay. Now, let's talk about deficit versus debt. All right. Now, suppose you spend more money this month than your income. All right. This situation is called a budget deficit. All right. So you borrow, i.e., use your credit card. All right. And the amount you borrowed and now owe is called your debt. All right. You have to pay interest on your debt. All right. If next month you spend more than your income, another deficit, you must borrow some more. Okay. And you'll still have to pay interest on your debt. Okay. Now, which is now larger. All right. Now, if you have a deficit every month, okay. Now, this is clearly essential here to my case here. All right. But if you have a deficit every month, all right, and let's get into this here. All right. Oh, yes. That's called, okay, yeah. If you have a deficit every month, you keep borrowing and soon, yeah, you keep borrowing and your debt grows. Okay, soon the interest payment on your debt loan is bigger than any other item in your budget. Eventually, all you can do is pay the interest payment, and you don't have any money left over for anything else. This situation is known as bankruptcy. All right? Reducing the deficit is a meaningless soundbite. If the deficit is any amount more than zero, we have to borrow more and the debt grows. Okay? So each year since 1969, Congress has spent more money than its income. The Treasury Department has to borrow money to meet Congress's appropriations. Okay? Here is now, okay, and we have to pay interest on the huge growing debt. On that huge growing debt, and it cuts into our budget. All right. Now, I want you to take a look at this. Okay, this chart here, okay, which I have posted here. This is the federal budget, what we spend our money on. All right, and my friends, okay, it looks to me that we spend more money, and billions of dollars, in the Health and Human Services Department, the Defense Department, Treasury Department. Yep. But we spend very minuscule in billions of dollars in the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Education, Veterans Affairs, Department of Homeland Security, Office of Personal Management, Department of Transportation, Department of Labor, Housing and Urban Development. That we spend very minimal on the Department of Justice, the judicial branch. But we spend very little on the Department of Energy, the NASA, international assistance programs, and other independent agencies. The State Department gets very little, and the Department of Interior, even the Environmental Protection Agency only we spend about like $10 billion on the Environmental Protection Agency, and Corps of Engineers is very minuscule. Department of Commerce, National Science Foundation, Executive Office of the President, and the legislative branch. Okay, very minuscule. Okay, most of our budget is the brunt of the Health and Human Services, the Department of Defense, and the Treasury Department, and whatnot. And you see that it's just disturbing. Okay, that we have this budget crisis. Okay, and let me give you another idea here before I get to my other points that I want to make here. Okay, now, mind you, we are indebted to other nations here. All right, but now we are indebted to other nations here, and to give you an idea here. All right, to give you an idea here. Now, in June of 2011, the total U.S. public debt, the grand sum of money we as a nation have borrowed and must pay back, added up to $14.3 trillion. Roughly 31% of that is held by foreign countries. All right, a fact which is an international cause for concern. All right. Now, if we don't pay up, we're not the only country that will suffer. China, Japan, and the UK are our most oft discussed debtors. All right, but more than 50 countries. Okay, more than 50 countries are patiently waiting for us to pay them back. All right. Now, though this is technically money that our government owes, the consequences of this obligation trickle down to every one of us. All right, every one of us. All right. Now, we all have to pay the debt. Okay, in one way or another. All right. But what if we had to pay up today? All right. Now listen to this. All right. Now I mentioned that. China, Japan, and the UK are bigger debtors. Okay, but let's say we owe the Netherlands. Okay, and this is plus interest, over 23 billion. Okay, $23 billion. All right, but now. Okay, so for example, our total U.S. deficit was $14.3 trillion, okay, in 2011. All right, and of that debt, $4.5 trillion is what is owed to other nations. Okay, now of that, each U.S. citizen would owe $14,458 each. Every citizen would have to pay that amount back. All right. So you see what I mean here. All right. By all of this. Now, before I get to the phone calls, okay, because I started in on a hot topic here, I want to get into something. Okay, so we do have progress in the federal deficit. All right, but anyhow, I want to show you this. All right, and let me get into this here because this is truly fascinating here. All right, oops, sorry about that. I'm going back up, and let me shine a light on this right here. Eliot Spitzer. All right, now, all right, and before I get to the phone calls here, all right, Eliot Spitzer. Okay, apparently, Eliot Spitzer is dispensing advice on how to live a virtuous life. Okay, yeah. This is the guy that courted prostitutes. Okay, while he was governor. Okay, and okay, Spitzer, who resigned as governor in disgrace 5 years ago, after getting caught soliciting hookers, okay, has penned a new book, Protecting Capitalism at Case by Case, to coincide with his comeback campaign for city comptroller. Okay, while much of the $9.99 ebook focuses on his time probing Wall Street power brokers and as state attorney general, there's an entire section devoted to Spitzer's top 10 rules of life. Okay, a set of rules to aspire to live by. Okay, get this, okay? Now, one of Spitzer's rules, rule number 1, loyalty and fiduciary duty matter. Okay? Our failures, political and personal, over the past years have followed from a simple inability to be loyal to duties we know we have yet to still fail to respect. Okay. Now, rule number 4, Spitzer discusses how hubris is terminal. He says our sense of self-importance is not only grossly overrated, but can generate a dangerous arrogance in decision-making. Oh my God. This coming from, oh my God. This coming from a immoral judge of character here. Okay? And now Spitzer also discusses the need for some steamroller tenacity in rules 6 through 8. Nuggets include, it is better to go down fighting than not fight at all. Oh my gosh. I think I'd take advice from my toilet before I take advice from Spitzer. Okay. Now, another thing here. Okay. Now, another thing here before I get to the phone calls here. All right. Oh, well, I guess I can take a phone call. All right. Yeah. All right. Hello, you're on the air. What's on your political mind?
Hold your tongue and say Eliot Spitzer.
Oh, stop.
Will, this deficit is a problem.
Yes.
And it's left to every single one of us to labor after their deficit.
Yes.
Okay. Where are we going as a world here?
Well, we need to fix it, and it's good news that we're making progress on the deficit reduction. But we need to keep that trend going. So we need to abolish the IRS and install the fair tax.
Yeah, that's another thing is we're all the laborers, and we're supposed to be the mules to pay all this debt. While they spend into a deficit and make it work harder for us.
Another problem is Social Security.
Yeah,
Yep.
they transferred accounts from they had after Bush Sr. they had a reserve, and then they transfer accounts, so they obligate the money elsewhere.
Well,
and-
listen,
Yeah.
Social Security is not part of the federal budget deficit. Or
No, it
not-
isn't.
It's not, it's a separate
Entity.
fund, okay?
Yeah.
It's a separate fund, and Social Security payments go into Social Security Trust Fund, all right? But, okay, and should not be as general
Jeopardized.
revenue. Yeah, should not be as general revenue. But the government is under no obligation to pay Social Security benefits, and
No, they're not. What they do is they
Yeah.
hold it in accounts and they gain
Yeah.
off the interest.
as of August,
Tax-free.
yeah, but as of August 2010, there is less money being paid into the Social Security Trust Fund than is being paid out to beneficiaries. Okay?
Yeah, that is correct.
Yep. Other government agencies borrowed from the trust fund and now
That's what I'm saying.
Yep, and now have
they
to pay
obligated
it back.
to reserve and then spent
Yep,
it all.
and now have to pay it back. It's
right,
already been
right. But who's
spent.
going to pay it back? They're not. The public
Yep.
officials aren't going to put that back into a fund.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
once you cash out on Social Security, Will, you don't get minimum wage increase.
My
You don't get the
advice-
cost of living.
My advice is, sorry about that, I gotta pick up the paper. But my advice is people, no matter how old you are, you gotta start saving for retirement, no matter how old you are, right now.
Today's marketable
Right now.
value specs on what you pay out of any income, whether it's Social Security, whether it's a weekly paycheck for the vast majority, is just working all week
Now-
to hand it off, and then they raise the inflation on markup on everything, and
Now, get this, okay? The total unfunded liability here of Social Security is now 110, approximately 110 trillion
yeah.
dollars. Okay.
And now people are coming back with war injuries. More 51% of the population has physical health problems.
Yep. Social
Around the
Security is going bankrupt.
It's beyond bankrupt because they spent the reserves and they keep on making us. They want us to work even after. First, it started out you'd work 18 years, you'd pull a pension in retirement, you would get Social Security at the age of 50. They raised it all the way up to they want you 80 years old on the job
Uh-huh.
to pay their income tax-free, to pay their debt they took on. Here's another thing that my mom and dad taught me, that they were shocked, is the debt, like a credit card debt, goes into a collection agency, and they auction off the debt.
Uh-huh.
They auction off America every single day.
Uh-huh. Now, let me read this to you. And
Go ahead.
I wanted to make this point earlier, okay? But about Social Security, okay? Now, lurking in the history of Social Security are two prime examples of potential problems that would be encountered with the social entitlement system. And these examples, in the persons of Ernest Ackerman and Ida Mae Fuller, okay, should have been red flags to all Americans, okay, of the financial, okay. Little is known about Ernest Ackerman except that he was a Cleveland area trolley motorman who retired one day after the Social Security Act was signed into law. All right. Now, after paying a nickel in the program, into the program fund, okay, Mr. Ackerman promptly received a lump sum payment of 17 cents. All right.
So he got back
Yeah. Now
70% on his money.
Yeah. Now listen to this. Okay. To be sure, we're talking pennies here. Okay. But that's not a bad return for one day's investment.
Right.
340%. Okay. However, the situation of Mrs. Ida Mae Fuller really underscores the problems that can occur in a system of massive as Social Security. Okay, her story is one of maximum return for minor investment. Get this, okay? Now, listen to this. In May, Ida Mae was born on a farm in Ludlow, Vermont in 1874. All right? Now, she worked as a legal secretary in Ludlow for most of her career. And after 3 years of paying Social Security payroll taxes, she retired in 1939 at the age of 65. According to the Social Security Administration website, the total amount of Ida Mae's contribution to Social Security was $24.75. All right? Now, listen to this. Apparently, Ida Mae came from good Vermont stock because she passed away in 1975 at the ripe old age of 100. And by the time of her death, she had received a total of $22,888.92.
22 grand off what she paid into.
Yeah.
I know where you're coming from. Do you agree with this?
Yeah.
They should hold everybody's withholding in a separate independent account, and they shouldn't lose the principal. And they should, if they're going to hold it for gains, they should return it for growth structure, that independent account after borrowing.
Yep.
But they shouldn't just drain everybody's pocketbook. And they're also getting it when you're declared deceased. Any amount of energy from laboring goes back to the state and goes supposedly back to the system, but this thing is a runaway train, pi-definity. Nobody took the actual count or held the basic being rules of a certain amount held.
This and everything else, as Mitch McConnell says, is a train wreck.
Yeah.
It's a train wreck.
Barack, this federal insurance is going to be all right for 2 years, but the state, they're going to put it on a state deficit when every state and county overspends their budget purposely for federal gains. So the state's broke already, and it's a mess. I can't agree with like you said, Spitzer, what we went through in the wintertime, worried about our Social Security pension. Do 80-year-olds go back to work? What do we do here? It's like they play a public arena and do nothing about it. Another thing is if we don't do something, it just gets drastically worse.
Yep. Well, my friend, I'm afraid that's about all the time I have left on the show tonight.
Well, at least we worked our deficit and paid our dues, so whatever comes out of it, we get our end of the deal.
Yeah, sort of. All right. My friend, I appreciate the call. I appreciate you paying attention. All right. All right, my friends, and we thank you for watching Political Point Magazine. That's all the time we have left on the show tonight. You can follow me on Twitter at WilliamMetro2, and my advice to you is start saving now, because if you don't, it will get out of control. All right. Again, all right, my friends, we thank you for watching Political Point, where the right is right and the left is always on the wrong side of history. Check us out on the web, facebook.com/peakpolitical, myspace.com/politicalpoint. Email us at politicalpoints@hotmail.com and mccarpet24@hotmail.com. And check out my website on the Elmira City Hall Examiner. All right, I got to send a shout out to Casablanca Pizzeria, and we are out.